Ma'am, I'm going to need you to step aside while I verify this.
Of course.
Murmurs barely audible.
Here's the badge again, officer. Officer, I believe you need to see this.
I didn't realize.
Ma'am, I'm going to need you to step aside while I verify this.
Ma'am, I believe you need to see this.
Officer, I believe you need to see this.
I didn't realize.
The situation in the courthouse hallway might have looked unusual, but the reality was far simpler. The judge, a highly respected Chief Justice, was entering the building for her morning hearings, carrying routine paperwork. The officer on duty, recently assigned to the courthouse, noticed someone moving quickly with legal documents and assumed a potential security issue. Courthouse hallways are busy, and mistakes can escalate quickly when assumptions are made. While the officer acted with what he thought was caution, the misunderstanding had deeper roots. A combination of inexperience and subtle bias that caused him to misread the scenario. Staff nearby noticed the interaction but did not immediately intervene, thinking it might be part of routine procedure. The tension rose because the judge calmly maintained her identity and authority, but the officer struggled to reconcile what he saw with what he was trained to expect. It was a small moment, yet it revealed how quickly misjudgments can spiral into serious consequences. The Chief Justice had spent over 2 decades building her career with dedication and consistency. Known for her precise attention to detail, she had a reputation for fairness and calm decision-making. Outside the courtroom, she led a quiet life, balancing long hours with family commitments and community involvement. Colleagues admired her work ethic, noting how she often arrived early to review cases and stayed late to ensure every ruling was thoroughly considered. Despite her accomplishments, she had faced subtle misjudgments throughout her career, minor assumptions about her capabilities based on appearances or gender, that never escalated publicly but had shaped her cautious yet confident demeanor. These experiences had taught her patience and the importance of maintaining composure under scrutiny. Entering the courthouse that morning, she carried the same calm professionalism that defined her life and career, unaware that a routine entry would soon turn into a moment that challenged both her authority and the officer's judgment. She walked through the courthouse lobby carrying her briefcase, glancing at her schedule for the morning. A uniformed officer was stationed near the entrance, scanning people as they passed. She gave a small nod in greeting, but he approached with a furrowed brow. "Excuse me, ma'am, I need to see some identification," he said. She reached for her badge and displayed it clearly. "I'm the Chief Justice," she stated calmly. The officer squinted at it, shaking his head. "This doesn't look official," he replied, tone skeptical. A janitor nearby paused, observing silently as the exchange continued. Papers shuffled from another office worker distracted him, and a slight gesture, her pointing to the courthouse directory, was misread as evasive. Tension built quietly, each word measured. She repeated her statement and showed her badge again, but the officer hesitated, unwilling to accept the claim without verification. What should have been a normal entrance began to feel uncertain and controlled. The officer stepped closer, clipboard in hand, still uncertain. "Ma'am, I'm going to need you to step aside while I verify this," he said. She complied silently, maintaining her composure. A court clerk looked on from a nearby desk, frowning as she typed rapidly, sending an email for verification. A witness, a visiting attorney, glanced over and murmured, "Is she really the judge?" The officer ignored the comment, focusing instead on procedural rules, repeatedly asking for identification and questioning her presence. She showed her badge a 3rd time, her voice calm but firm, yet he hesitated, scanning her papers and questioning the spelling of her name. Mild fear flickered across her face, uncertainty about whether this would escalate further, but she remained composed. Each passing minute heightened discomfort, with small gestures misread and intentions doubted. The atmosphere felt tense but grounded, an ordinary hallway strained by misjudgment rather than chaos. A senior court administrator approached, holding a printed verification from the official registry. "Officer, I believe you need to see this," she said calmly. The officer took the document, scanning it quickly. His expression shifted from doubt to confusion, then to mild panic. The badge and registry confirmed her identity beyond question. She was indeed the Chief Justice of the courthouse. The visiting attorney and clerk exchanged glances, relief evident on their faces. The officer's voice wavered slightly as he muttered, I didn't realize." He stepped back, adjusting his stance, clearly processing the mistake. The hallway's tension eased noticeably, replaced by quiet acknowledgement of the misunderstanding. She remained composed, nodding curtly, signaling that the situation was now resolved. The administrator instructed the officer to stand down and verify all procedures moving forward. The air was calm, yet a subtle shock lingered. This simple verification revealed a profound misjudgment and highlighted the consequences of assumptions in authority. The days following the incident unfolded with an intense mix of internal reviews and public scrutiny. The courthouse administration launched a formal investigation into the officer's actions. Emails, security footage, and witness statements were all examined to understand how such a misunderstanding could have escalated in a professional environment. The officer was placed on administrative leave, pending the outcome of the inquiry. Colleagues described the pause as necessary to preserve procedural integrity and allow an unbiased assessment of events. Within a week, the media began reporting on the incident. Local newspapers ran factual accounts, emphasizing the unusual circumstance of a courthouse officer handcuffing the Chief Justice. Headlines highlighted the irony and the procedural lapse. Chief Justice detained and her own courthouse officer suspended. Social media discussions erupted, with viewers expressing disbelief, concern over bias in authority, and curiosity about procedural safeguards. The story gained traction because it involved both a high-profile figure and a relatable scenario: misjudgment in a professional space. As the investigation progressed, it became clear that the officer's assumptions, coupled with a lack of verification, had led directly to the wrongful detention. Interviews with supervisors revealed a pattern of minor procedural oversights, which, when combined with an unusual misidentification, had escalated into a significant incident. The investigation panel emphasized the importance of following identification protocols regardless of perceived situational cues. Legal actions followed swiftly. The Chief Justice filed a civil rights lawsuit citing unlawful detention, emotional distress, and reputational harm. Legal experts publicly noted the strength of her case, given the officer's deviation from protocol and the clear confirmation of her identity at the moment of the incident. The courthouse set aside a settlement amount, eventually agreeing to a $2.7 million resolution, covering legal fees, damages, and administrative compensation. The settlement reinforced the principle that even in high-stakes professional environments, assumptions must not override verification. Internally, the courthouse enacted immediate policy reforms. Officers received additional training on verification, recognition of authority, and handling high-ranking officials within the institution. Supervisors implemented routine spot checks to ensure that identification procedures were consistently followed. The incident became a case study for other law enforcement and administrative staff, highlighting how minor lapses in judgment could lead to significant legal and financial consequences. For the officer, the aftermath was both professional and personal. Suspension turned into termination once the investigation concluded, and his record reflected the misjudgment prominently. He later pursued further training and counseling to understand the systemic and personal factors that contributed to his error. While the termination was a major professional setback, it served as a pivotal learning moment, emphasizing the critical role of humility, verification, and restraint in positions of authority. For the Chief Justice, the resolution brought relief, though not without residual frustration. She returned to her duties, maintaining composure and continuing her role with a reinforced sense of awareness about procedural safeguards. Her legal team noted that while the settlement addressed immediate harms, the broader impact was the reinforcement of accountability standards in her workplace. Ultimately, the courthouse and community reflected on the incident as a cautionary tale. Policy, training, and professional conduct measures were strengthened. Social discussions centered on bias, assumptions, and systemic accountability, marking this event as a significant real-world lesson in procedural integrity and respect for authority. The incident prompted broader reflection beyond the courthouse walls. It was not only a story about one officer's mistake, but also a real-world example of how assumptions can quickly turn into serious consequences. Bias, even when subtle and unintentional, can affect professional judgment. People in positions of authority may misread ordinary behaviors, especially when verification steps are skipped or disregarded. Observers noted that the officer's actions were not driven by personal malice, but by a combination of habit, misjudgment, and procedural shortcuts. This distinction is important because it shows that systemic issues, rather than purely individual flaws, can amplify risk. The Chief Justice's experience highlighted that high-status positions do not automatically protect someone from errors in judgment by others, underscoring the need for careful verification at every level of professional interaction. Training programs across institutions emphasized that assumptions, even minor ones, carry weight. A routine moment, such as walking into one's workplace, can unexpectedly escalate if officers or staff skip basic steps like asking for identification or confirming authority. The incident reminded employees and managers alike that protocols exist not just to enforce rules, but to prevent misunderstandings that could escalate into legal or professional crises. Community response also reflected a nuanced understanding. Many viewers acknowledged the importance of accountability and the dangers of unchecked assumptions, while also recognizing that the officer was human and capable of error. Discussions focused on procedural safeguards, empathy, and the value of professional restraint. People shared their own experiences where small misjudgments caused unnecessary conflict, emphasizing how the event resonated in relatable, everyday scenarios. The broader lesson centered on systemic awareness. Organizations reviewed their policies and training not only to prevent mistakes, but also to reinforce respect for roles, responsibilities, and authority. It became clear that proper verification, communication, and calm assessment are essential in preventing incidents that could otherwise have lasting repercussions. Ultimately, the story demonstrated that bias does not require ill intent to cause harm. Systems, procedures, and personal responsibility all play a role in safeguarding fairness. The Chief Justice's experience showed that even highly respected figures are vulnerable to the consequences of assumption-driven actions. At the same time, the resolution illustrated the importance of accountability, the efficacy of legal recourse, and the value of clear, structured policy reforms. This reflection leaves a central question for viewers. How often do small assumptions in your own workplace or community create situations that could have serious consequences if left unchecked? We want to hear from you. Have you ever witnessed a situation where assumptions led to serious consequences? Or maybe you've been personally affected by someone misjudging your role or authority. Share your experiences in the comments below. Your story could help others recognize the importance of verification, fairness, and clear communication in everyday interactions. If this story made you reflect on bias, systemic challenges, or accountability, consider subscribing to our channel. We cover real-world incidents, offering calm, investigative insights into situations that reveal how small misjudgments can have big consequences. By following, you'll stay informed about similar cases, and you'll join a community that values awareness, fairness, and learning from real events. Let us know, how would you have handled the situation differently? Your perspective matters.